in a world. What up, doe fam? Skull and Globers episode 6, long overdue. How's it going? I may talk quickly. It'll be okay. They have a 0.75 option. Welcome to Skull and Globers, where we help teach people that believe they live on a spinning ball exactly what it is that they think that they believe. It seems to be a problem wherein which people are often overly confident in their belief system regarding the fact they think they live on a tilted, wobbling, spinning, revolving ball through a vacuum of nothingness, an ever expanding universe where nothing really matters and you're insignificant. Be thankful that that rock turned into a fish. And he was like, you know what, man? This water's whack. All right, we're going to cover the tides tonight. So the title of the episode is The Tides Are Changing, which they are. All right, so we got quite a bit of different things to show you. But my boy Meldome just sent me his video, so we're going to play that as well. But I think the best thing to do is let's just start it off. In case you don't know, they say the Earth is a ball that revolves around the sun. The moon's a ball. Let me break it down for you. So they say that the sun had dust particles come off of it, and those dust particles form together. And then gravity, the all creative force that has a little g and a big G, and it's everywhere. And it helped create everything, basically like a god. Then it coalesced these magic dust particles into the sphere that you now think that you inhabit. It was magic, truly was magic, but it's also insignificant at the same time. And then, wait for it, a Mars-sized body hit this compilation of gravity coalesced dust particles that you now inhabit. It was epic. It exchanged energy to its core, broke pieces everywhere. Well, one of the pieces stuck around because, in fact, the sun and the earth got into a custody battle, and the earth won. So it got the moon. And this magic rock out of the mini rocks that broke off also dapped up with the gravity and coalesced into a perfect sphere as the damaged rock that was once the earth began to coalesce back into a sphere. And the one that broke off and stuck around because it, was now under the custody of the earth, it just happened to stop at the perfect distance that it appears to be the same size as the sun, even though it's 400 times smaller in diameter, but just coincidentally exactly 400 times as close. And this moon, this magical moon that people walked on but can't go back 5 decades later, that has lunar waves, but doesn't matter. We can see stars through it, but it's solid, I promise. We have craters on it, but they're all perfect 90 degrees. It's all magic, but insignificant. Anyway, this moon, we always see the same quote unquote side of it. Of course, if it's a sphere revolving around a sphere, because heliosexuals are all about everything's a ball from the small to the big, then of course this moon, they call it, is for some reason not showing us its other side. Like it has split personality disorder. And we didn't know that it's actually schizophrenic. So if this moon, which is of course revolving around the earth as it's tilted, wobbling, revolving around the sun, and then the moon rotates, but at just the perfect rate that if it just happened to have gone 1/4 a mile per hour, 1/4 of 1 mile per hour, faster or slower, we would see the rest of the moon. But no, this insignificant, completely random, chaotic, and meaningless coincidence decided to make that same angular size moon always locked with the earth. That is, in fact, the official story that people ridicule you for not believing in. And yes, I did use the word believe. And this is schooling the Globers. We are just teaching you what you believe. We are not telling you what to believe. We're just saying, oh, bro, I used to be in that cult. This sucks, bro. You should get out of the cult. So we're going to cover the tides and all that to say that they claim that the reason that we see one side of the moon is that it's locked to the earth. It's tidally locked. Now, this is, of course, because they came up with this weirdo model. Let me break it down for you guys. So they're like, you know what? The perfect shape's a sphere. This is the idea, at least. You got Ptolemy, he's like, "Oh, let's make a sphere. Well, yeah, we can map out the sphere, but, we have to make an assumption that there's a tangent that we can never see." But anyway, and these creepy Greeks, at least the story goes, decided to map out the Earth being a sphere. And, being as how they had Democritus, this guy that looks like he literally eats people, if you look up the animation of that dude, he said, "Oh, everything's made of little indivisible balls. We'll call them atoms." And that's, of course, what atom means. It means not divisible, cannot be any further divided. Um, it's a ball. So if it's a ball, and the moon's a circle, it must be a ball. And if everything's a ball, then the perfect shape's a ball. And if the perfect shape's a ball, then the earth must be a ball. And because, the creepy Greeks, they had mystery schools with little boy servants and they were pedophiles, then they were like, oh man, my infatuation with balls must spill over into my cosmology. So if the earth is in fact a ball and it's spinning around a whole bunch of other balls, well, first they thought it was stationary, but then it progressed to the idea, oh, wait, look, you see those lights? I know how I'll be a special boy. I'll say I discovered that actually we are those lights. Just really soak this in. I hope you're soaking it in. People on the earth, they were like, you know what? I think the earth's a ball because that's the perfect shape. Science. And then they thought, you know what? Maybe not everything goes around us like all observations and evidence ever has shown us. Maybe we fly through space. And you see those lights in the sky that constantly reset for all recorded history, all the way back to the Babylonians and before them? Maybe we're one of those lights. And if we are one of those lights and we're flying through space, since the stars continue to reset, doing the same thing forever, they must not change in our sky, even though we're flying through space around them. So they must be super, super far away. So would have to take a really long time to see them change because for thousands of years, we've never seen them change. So they must be super far away. Science. And if they're super far away and we're still able to see them, that must mean that there's nothing in between us and them. Oh, vacuum must be empty. Privation, Aristotle, the antithesis of matter. Ontological, philosophical, religious. That's what the actual that's what the belief system is. Long story short, we move forward, and then if you're going to explain that in fact the moon is doing all this other pseudoscientific fairy tale nonsense that I described a second ago, then you have to explain how. And of course, then you have the kinematic model. We're schooling the Globers. Take notes. Globers take notes. I may open up the lines later. The Globers only can call in, and then you have to pass the quiz. You have to understand your belief system. I'm breaking it down for you, and pretty concisely, might I add. So we move forward to where we have this guy, Kepler. He wants to explain the movement of the objects in the sky. Now, of course, his tutor, Tycho Brahe, was way smarter than him, came up with an incredible model of geocentrism, still assuming a sphere because he was out there as well, I guess. So he was his tutor. He took all of his works. Then he was like, you know what? Let me make a model where basically everything in the sky is a music note, which actually he wasn't. He was way closer to being accurate than modern science, of course, because everything is intrinsically cymatic and vibrational resonance and what is sound and what is music, but whatever. So everything must be a music note. He did a kinematic and geometric model explanation of the movement of the bodies in the sky. We fast forward, we get to Newton, 1666, 666 Newton. Just a coincidence that the alchemist, they never told you that he wrote about ether, never told you that he thought that gravity was weird and dumb and no man with common faculty of thinking could ever think that it existed, and that if it did exist, it must be purely an act of God. And now we have atheists that basically bow to it. The irony is overwhelming. I get it. He proposed the dynamic forces, took the kinematic and geometric model that was proposed under the idea of music notes. And then he proposed the dynamic model. If you understand, a dynamic force is simply like an exchange of force between one body and another. It's a dynamic relationship. So that's where you get Newtonian gravity, and that's when you really start to spill over into pseudoscience land. And of course, he's the one that first proposed the idea of the moon being locked to the Earth. You fast forward into the late 1800s, you get this idea of the tidal theory, and we're going to cover that today. We're going to cover what's wrong with it. Now, of course, as you see, before we even step into the idea of the tidal theory, we are like drowning in pseudoscientific religious assumptions. What's on the bottom of the flat Earth? I don't know. Oh, you're so stupid. Earth is flat. You're crazy. That proved that the Earth was a ball. You didn't know the answer. Well, you can just make all that stuff up I just said? Yeah. That's science. All right, bro. So let's get into it. We're gonna let none other than Neil deGrasse Tyson himself explain to you guys. Now, this is like the longer form video. I don't think I can actually watch that much of him. It's 15 minutes. I doubt that we get through that whole thing. But it is hilarious, and I know a lot of people may not have seen this, and you gotta watch it. So let's check it out.
I want to dismantle your belief system.
Exactly. My whole world is crumbling. I need to believe in you, man. All right.
Next thing I say may be mind-blowing to you.
Okay.
Okay? The tide doesn't actually come in and out. What? What happens is there is a bulge of water, two of them, on opposite sides of the Earth, caused by the sun and the moon, and Earth turns inside that bulge.
Mm-hmm.
So when we say the water rises and falls tidally, what's happening is we are rotating into the bulge and then out of the bulge.
So the bulge is already there.
It's already there.
And all we kind of do is pass through the
Pass
bulge.
through, and the water gets high and it gets low. So we're stuck with language from our own perspective rather than language of what's actually happening. It's simpler that way to say the water goes in and out. It's simpler to say the sun set rather than Earth rotated such that our angle of view on the stationary sun fell below our local horizon.
Right.
Oh, no, that's actually what we need. We need specific claims, buddy.
Rather than language of what's actually
Through the
pass
bulge.
through, and the water gets high and it gets low. So we're stuck with language from our own perspective rather than language of what's actually happening. It's simpler that way to say the water goes in and out. It's simpler to say the sun set rather than Earth rotated such that our angle of view on the stationary sun fell below our local horizon.
Right.
Local horizon. Except when it doesn't. Except when it's out of place. And it's refracted and lifted up, which is allegedly every day. And except when the horizon constantly fluctuates and it's in an actual geometric position. But I digress.
Yeah, sunset is far more poetic.
Yeah, you go to the sunset tables, to look this up.
Yeah, because you can't say to a girl, hey, how'd you like to go and watch the angular momentum of the Earth cause the sun to disappear behind a horizon?
You ain't talking to no girls. Oh, why'd you bring up talking to a girl and then you start talking like you're sweet?
Tables, to look this up.
Yeah, because you can't say to a girl, hey, how'd you like to go and watch the angular momentum of the
I don't think you can say anything to a girl like that.
Earth cause the sun to disappear behind a horizon?
Hello, where'd you go? Let's look at just the Earth and the moon for the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Which
There's
many people think the moon is what causes it.
No, the moon is 2/3 of the tides.
Okay.
Okay. The sun is 2/3, 3/4. Depends on the distance. The sun has its own tides on the Earth.
Oh, snap.
Wait, in fact, the tides that the moon raises on Earth are the same no matter the phase.
Okay. No matter the phase of the moon, which there are some people believe that when you have a full moon, what you have is a higher tide because you have a fuller moon.
You do have a higher tide.
Bro, I was about to get so bad. Ayo, brother, glad I made a live, but I'm always at work. Glad you're keeping it up, man. Yeah, blessed. Thank you, man. Thank you for becoming a member for 6 months. Shout out to Angel. What a legend. I'm going to try to bump the stream times up, but thank you for supporting the channel. We got a super chat. If the Earth's flat, then how do you explain a perfect live stream of the moon landing in 1969? Huh, Witsit, how dare you? Retro Reister Game, thank you for the $5 super chat. Simply, I cannot explain it, actually. And now that I think about it, I might need to reconsider everything I think I know.
Oh, snap.
But the tide that the moon raises on the Earth is basically the same, no matter its phase.
No matter its phase.
What happens at full...
Okay, so let's look at this depiction. And I want you guys to keep it in mind. It's going to become very relevant. Globers, pay attention.
A higher tide.
Oh, snap.
But the tide that the moon raises on the Earth...
Did you guys real deal think that this is like reality, bro? You think that if I don't believe that I'm dumb. Wow. Tip from a person that is on board. Hey, SL, thank you for the $10 super chat. Much love, brother. This is about to get bad. FTFE is doing it live right now. I don't think about me. I don't care at all.
Is basically the same, no matter its phase.
No matter its phase.
What happens at full moon is that the sun's tides add to the moon's tides Precisely.
Oh, snap. We talking about a tide assist from the
A
sun?
tide assist.
Oh.
A tide assist.
Bro, this is one of the most cringe things I've ever watched.
And so that's why
And that coincides with the full moon.
coincides with the full moon. Because the full moon, you got the moon here,
Right.
Earth, and the sun. Everybody lines up.
That's what it is.
In fact, we have a word for that.
Go ahead.
That has the most number of letters when scripted. It's a dip below the line.
Okay.
I know that's a weird record to hold.
Right.
The word is syzygy. So syzygy is when 3 or more objects come into alignment in, cosmically.
Right.
So you have the moon, the Earth. The moon will have the same tide it would at any time,
Right.
but now it lines up with the sun.
Right.
They add together, you get the highest tides at full moon and new moon. So now I ask you, when would you get the lowest tides?
When the sun is not lined up.
Okay.
Yo, guys, pay attention because this is a scientific communicator that's supposed to be representing your religion, right? And flat Earth's so stupid that if you just had a basic rudimentary understanding, like what the scientific communicators tell us, you'd understand. Because this is going to become very relevant in just a moment.
Okay, let me quantify that. So when the sun is at 90 degrees,
Right.
the sun is pulling this way, and the moon is pulling that way, and the two waves basically cancel.
Exactly.
They try to cancel one another. So you have the lowest tide. It's called the neap tide.
The neap?
Neap.
Neap tide.
Wow. Wait. What? Just remember this.
And the moon is pulling that way, and the
Whoa.
two waves basically cancel.
Exactly.
Wow. They cancel. Now there's no tides on the Earth. That's crazy. Now we got a low tide. They basically cancel all around the Earth.
Try to cancel one another. So you have the lowest tide. It's called the neap tide.
The neap?
Neap.
Neap tide.
Neap tide.
See, look at this. It's not the moon. It was the sun all
the time. It was the sun all the time.
I see. And you think because, see.
Wait. So when people say,
I should have planned better and known exactly where he makes the comments. I think it's coming up though.
feel the extra tidal forces from the moon when it's full, it's just bullshit.
Oh.
So just want to clear that up.
Okay.
Okay. So I haven't explained tides yet. Let me take 2 minutes to explain that.
Holy
Hey, spoiler, he's not going to explain them.
crap.
Okay.
That was just about the moon and the sun and the fact that the bulge. So that's what we have right now.
So watch what happens.
Go for it.
So and let's just look at Earth and the moon for the moment. The side of the Earth that's closest to the moon feels a stronger gravitational pull of the moon than the side of the Earth that's farthest away. Okay.
Right.
The closer you are to the source of gravity, the stronger is that force.
Right.
Is that force? That's true for everything.
Right.
No
So
matter
the
what.
moon is always exerting a gravitational pull on the Earth.
On the Earth, yes.
Except there is no force and there is no pull, but who needs to be accurate in your own religion? You can make up whatever you want to.
And there's a difference in the gravitational pull from one side to the other.
Okay.
Because if there's a difference, it means it's pulling this harder than that.
Right.
If you do that, you end up stretching.
Okay.
So the water stretches along the line that the moon's tidal forces are pulling.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's a stretching force.
Right.
All right. And by the way,
We're going to call that Earth yoga. so, yes.
Bruh, this is your representatives, bro. This is what you guys got going on, man. That dude on the right is supposed to be a comedian. He's supposed to be funny for like a living. Like, what's going on?
And now,
okay.
downward dog.
So it does that for anything.
Mhm.
Water happens to be more responsive to this force because it's liquid,
Right.
but it also raises tides on the solid Earth.
Oh.
But you don't see that
Right. You're not
happening.
going to see that.
You don't know, and it's small, much smaller, and so, but it does it basically for everything. And so that's how you get a tides. That's how you get the tides.
Wow.
And so that bulge is always there, but the sun is messing with it.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So as the moon.
Why was Mark Reed so triggered the other day during the debate? It was awful to watch. I don't know why are they always super triggered. I mean, if you're like 50, 60 years old and super mad about the fact that people don't believe in the globe we were all taught in 3rd grade, so you make it a job where you clock in every day to shut down the conversation of alternative cosmology, it's probably a given that you're going to just be mad all the time, I would guess. Big drums, what's it? We like colors. That's what's up, Charlie. Thank you for the $30 super chat. And what was the other person? Sorry, I didn't read your name. Retro Riser Gaming again. Thank you for the $5 super chat. And thank you, Charlie, for the $30 super chat. Not even sure what that's in reference to. Let's keep going. We're about to get there.
Moon orbits the Earth.
I'm sorry about this.
and the tidal bulge sort of
tidal bulge is
moving
moving
with the moon.
Right.
And the sun is like
exerting its forces
simultaneously, and it's either lines up or it doesn't.
Wow.
Okay. How much brain you got left to get?
I don't know, man. We are about this.
Okay, so now watch.
We were only working with this to begin with. Now we down to about this.
Okay, so watch what happens. So it turns out
we know. Just like they said in the chat, that's why you guys keep talking about bulges overcompensation. We get it.
We are rotating faster than the time it takes the moon to go around the Earth. Okay, so a day is shorter than a month. Okay, all right. So we are actually, if you, the viewer, are the moon, and you're trying to raise this bulge, okay, I am dragging the bulge ahead of you because I'm rotating.
If that dude's on drugs, bro, I don't even know what drugs are. Hey, welcome to the Misfits. Thank you, Tyler432, for becoming a member.
Faster.
That's right.
Okay, so the bulge is not actually exactly aligned.
No, it's over here.
It's like that way,
and then
that angle.
And you're pulling.
So now watch. So watch. So it's because I'm rotating. So now watch. So the moon is actually tugging on that bulge, trying to line it back up.
Right.
And it does that against the wishes of our rotation.
Right.
So the tidal bulge, because of the moon, is slowing down the rotation of the Earth.
So are you telling me that?
That's why we have leap seconds.
There you go.
So the tides are not only responsible.
This is one of the lamest things I've ever made my audience sit through, bruh. I'm sorry. Whew, bruh. This is rough. But this is actually what you guys believe. This is like the simple explanation of what Harvard says. I checked.
For what we perceive as water going in and out, it's responsible for the slowing down of the rotation of the Earth. And the Earth has been slowing down ever since the moon has existed. Okay, and we know this because there are mollusks that have certain features in their physical body that attract to the phases of the moon. Okay?
Really?
Yes. Okay. So attract to when they're stuck on the ground versus when they're in, the tide comes and gets them. Okay. There's a record of the cyclings of the moon, of the tides. Now watch. We also have other evidence for how many of those cyclings occur in a calendar year.
Right.
And back then, there were more of them. Okay. So the fact which meant that Earth rotated faster back then. Yes. So the moon has been slowing us down ever since.
Or the Earth is just getting really tired.
And then
didn't they just say that the Earth was speeding up? The Earth is spinning faster now. Bruh, if you're not starting to piece together that this is just a religion. Look, man, if you want to believe in the religion, I for one, do not care. But just know it is objectively a religion, and it has so many holes in it that it's honestly just remedial.
Then there are people who say, if the moon affects the water, and the water's made of water, and we're mostly water, what doesn't the moon affect us? Because we're 80 to 70% water. It's a natural thing to think about.
Which is when people say that people act weird during a full moon.
Yeah. Even though the moon's tides are not stronger. Okay.
It's really the sun.
It's really the sun.
See? Full circle, baby.
Right.
Just like Earth.
But you want to explain lunatics. They're really sunatics.
Sunatics. That's solatics.
Solatics. That's way better.
That's what they would be.
Yeah, you a solatic.
You're a solatic.
So here's the thing. The moon creates a tidal force across your skull. Okay?
I did not know that.
Yes. Across anything.
Right.
This side of your head is closer to the moon than this side of your head.
Okay.
But we can calculate what that difference in gravity is across your head.
Really?
It's not very much.
Damn, man, why you gotta do that to me?
It's not. Because you got a little head. So you can calculate how much that is.
What's with all the like homoerotic sexual references, you freaking sodomites? All this is going on, but lakes are just chilling. Yeah.
And then you can compare it to other things that are operating on your head. Like you go to sleep, there's a pillow sitting right here.
Right.
The weight of the pillow to distort your skull is about 1 trillion times stronger than the tidal force of the moon's gravity across your skull. But no one creates whole mystical predictions about
what your pillow's going to do.
What brand of pillow you slept with last night. So there are very strong ways you can demonstrate that really there's no effect on people other than the effect you think it's supposed to have.
Right.
You come out of the bar at 2 in the morning, full moon is up. Oh, it's a full moon.
Right. I'm going crazy. It has nothing to do with all that Jack Daniels in there.
This wasn't even the video I thought it was. I'm sorry, dude. But anyway, you hear a lot of like the basics. We covered the basics with what you guys believe. Globers, please pay attention. I'm sorry. That was the other one. I really want to find the other one, dude, because it's like, it's just a few minutes maybe. But anyway, so you guys followed that as nonsensical it is. You have the moon tides, you have the sun tides. At times they allegedly cancel out. And effectively you have the moon pulling the earth, fighting its rotation, slowing the earth down, even though it's speeding up. And we don't know why, but it doesn't matter. Must be a change in the distribution of mass that we can't measure, even theoretically work out mathematically. Oh, I know, because I checked. They can't explain it. Or there must be an external introduction of energy without a change in the distribution of mass that they also can't explain, because the relationship between the sun, moon, and the earth have to be very specific for things like this tide situation. So yeah, the earth's speeding up and it's inexplicable and we can't understand it, and it's supposedly slowing down because of the moon, but the moon's not changing and it's still tidally locked. But that's science. So I want to show you guys the, it's like he had to go do a new one because I saw one that's so bad. Oh, see, I found it, and it's like in the long form. It's 53 minutes. We're obviously not gonna even like. Dang. Okay, basically, at one point, he's addressing like one of the discrepancies in the model, and he tries to use this analogy of a hula hoop. Okay, and he says that it's crazy. They literally buried it and made him do a different one. It was so bad. He says that there's effectively a standing wave. Now, just so you know, like this, I don't just listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I go to like the universities. They all admit they can't explain the tides. But basically, you have the moon pulling on the earth, causing the tides. The solar tides also play a factor. The sun's also supposedly pulling on the earth. Even though the earth's supposedly pulling the moon to it over the sun, the moon is pulling the earth's water to it. But actually, okay, here's one of the problems. This is going to be on the Schooling Globers test if anybody calls in. This is on the test, okay? Pay attention. This is on the test, okay? So if the moon is pulling the tides on the earth, then how come we have tides with the same magnitude on the other side, the opposite side of the earth, going out away from the moon? Okay. We have the moon. We have the moon, we have the earth. Okay? Wow. And the earth, or the moon and the earth. I'm looking at it inverse, sorry. Okay, so the earth is being pulled to the moon. So how come on this side of the earth, we have tides going that way at the same time with the same magnitude away from the earth? Okay. Yeah, basic fundamental contradiction and paradox inside the tidal model of the globe, which we're going to get into just bearing it, of course. But so they say that the whole earth is pulled towards the moon, the entire earth, and that the water on the other side is displaced, but it's so far away from the gravitational pull that isn't a pull and isn't a force. We can treat it like a gravitational pull that is a force, but just trust me. So the tides are going the opposite way, that the moon is pulling the earth, but since it's so far away, it's not able to affect those tides, so they just keep going around. while the entire Earth is pulled. So say it pulls the water. I should have a drawing or something for you. It pulls the water, and then it pulls the Earth, and it displaces the water on the other side to where it pulls the Earth basically right to the middle. That's the actual model. So not only is the tidal lock phenomena so perfect that it makes the moon appear to have the same side forever, but it pulls the water on the closest side towards the moon, and it pulls the entire Earth towards the moon, just the right amount to where the Earth moves back to the middle of the water. And then, as Neil deGrasse Tyson explains, that actually the Earth is just moving under the water. It's like you have a standing wave that's hula hooping. The Earth is hula hooping. You have a standing wave, and the Earth just goes through the standing wave, including the bulge at the equator. Okay, now this is like their model. Okay, in 2023, this is your guys' model. I'll give you guys one more short little video that explains it, because you guys may feel like, oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the anti-flat earthers hate Neil deGrasse Tyson, even though that's what, in case you didn't know, that's what's being shown to the whole world and children. That's the official mainstream representation of your model. When he says, like, you don't see curvature from that height, you don't see curvature from 62 miles, that stuff is flat. That's what your model actually says, what the math says. When the person that runs the biggest planetarium in the world says you wouldn't see it from the ISS, and you guys come over here on the internet talking about you can see it from a plane at 12,000 feet in the air, you know, we don't. You guys are actually irrelevant. You guys are just making stuff up. Okay, so we're gonna watch. I want to make sure you guys understand the basic. I don't have graphics, so I'm gonna play this video, and then we're just gonna get into burying them.
This shows 12 hours at the famous Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's the biggest tide change in the world.
I just read all those off, and you guys couldn't even hear me. Okay. Lori Duncan, thank you for the $10 super chat. Much love. Jeremy Bird, please be respectful and refer to NASA's proper pronouns as hoax, scam, and liars. Touche. I'm sorry. I don't want to be bigoted. Thank you for the correction. Appreciate the super chat. Much love, Jeremy. And moving on.
But what force could move such a massive body of water? Gravity. Here's the Earth rotating on its axis every...
Actually, that's a cartoon. That's not actually the Earth. I didn't know if you guys knew. Yo, brother, could you kindly drop me a link or point me in the right direction for the papers on thunderstorms and the rate at which things falls? Appreciate you. Samuel Paul Seckler, thank you for the $10 super chat. Get in my Telegram. At me about that. At me about the papers for the rate of things falling, changing, and thunderstorms and lightning and ionic winds and rainfall, and I will happily do that. So go to my Telegram. That is t.me/misswits, MISWITS, misswits, and we'll get you hooked up. Appreciate the super chat. Roll the footage.
24 hours. We'll now draw the Earth as a diagram with its surrounding layer of ocean. And to the right is the silvery moon. Everything is attracted to everything else in the universe with the force of gravity. So the moon is attracted to the Earth, and the Earth is equally attracted to the moon.
Yay.
Notice that the two force arrows are the same length, showing the gravitational attractions are of equal strength. But we're only interested in the force on the Earth here. The moon pulls
I'm not
on the
gonna
ocean
really do this
closest
to you
it
guys.
and makes
I
it
already
bulge
feel your pain.
outwards.
All right, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get into burying it. All right, Globers, pay attention. We taught you your own model. Now we're going to teach you what they apparently want to leave out of your model. I already explained some of the fundamental paradoxes. Okay. You supposedly the moon is pulling the water of the earth towards it and strong enough, although the earth is supposedly pulling the moon around the earth, of course, overcoming the pull of the sun because of its proportionate mass and distance relationship. But then the moon's actually pulling on the earth and then countering its spin. And in fact, the cause of tides pulls the water towards it and then pulls the entire earth towards it directly into the middle of the water that's being displaced on both sides to equal it out so that the earth is right in the middle. Wow. Because of course you have tides at the same time on the opposite direction, on the opposite side of the moon, going the opposite direction away from the moon with the same magnitude. So that doesn't work. Okay. Now we are going to show you a little something else. And first what I'm going to do, since my boy
This is a map of
Melodome played it, or dropped this in the Telegram.
So what we got here is a tidal amplitude map. And basically this is a map showing all the areas of high tide and all the areas of low tide. Now, what you will notice on this map is there's a bunch of pink spots everywhere. These pink spots are areas where there is no high tide and there is no low tide. It stays the same. Doesn't move.
The Earth is equally attracted to the
Again,
moon.
here's a map. Now this is the map of the tidal nodes. All these spots again are the areas where there was the pink, and those are areas where there is no high tide, there is no low tide. It stays the same. So what's going on here is the high and low tides are actually orbiting all of these tidal nodes, orbiting every single one of these areas where there is no high or low tide. The tides are orbiting them here, here, over here. Interesting. Now, in the globe Earth model, it is a claim that the orbit of the moon around the Earth is what causes high and low tides, which is false, completely false. We can have high tide, and then miles down the shore, we can have low tide. All right, that debunks any idea that it's the moon causing it. And then when you figure out that it's not the moon, it's actually the magnetic fields of the Earth causing high and low tides, you throw it over a North Pole projected map, it forms a 4-leaf clover pattern around the North Pole. The tides appear to follow the lines of magnetic force, not the moon.
And that does definitely play a role in it. It seems to be a multifaceted. As all things, it fits within the toroid. All right, so I guess you guys want to hear, like, just so you understand, I'm not making up that they say that the moon is pulling on the Earth. I mean, we'll watch a few minutes of this, I guess.
Gravity.
I'm not gonna lie, like, once you wake up, like, listening to, like, globers pretend to teach you with some intellectual superiority about the nonsense that they believe as if they are teaching you, it's almost as painful as a truther that's woken up watching the news. And most of the people in here that have woken up, they can relate that if the news is on around you, you feel like you're being, like, physically attacked. Like, you'll actually start to feel sick. Like, it's terrible. When you hear the news, it's awful, bro. Okay? But we'll play a couple more minutes and then we'll just bury them. We gotta leave a little bit of common sense and truth in there. So shout out to my boy Austin from Melodome Legend.
But the moon is attracted to the Earth, and the Earth is equally attracted to the moon. Notice that the two force arrows are the same length, showing the gravitational attractions are of equal strength. But we're only interested in the force on the Earth here.
They're of equal strength, bro. Science.
The moon pulls on the ocean closest to it and makes it bulge outwards. When the Earth rotates, the sea level is higher at this point in its rotation, causing a high tide.
This video doesn't even get it right.
And a low tide where the oceans don't bulge. So you'd expect one high tide each day. But here it gets interesting because there are 2 high tides a day. How come? This is because the strength of gravity is greater when objects are closer. We'll call the location of the ocean on the near side of the moon, point A, at the centre of the Earth, point B, and at the far side ocean, point C. The strength of the moon's gravity is strongest at A because it's closest to the moon. So the part of the ocean that bulges towards the moon most is at A. But the moon's gravity also pulls on the Earth, moving it towards the moon as well.
It does get it right, yeah.
This has 2 effects. First, it makes enough.
All right, I want you guys to really soak this in, okay? Like, I want you to pay attention here, okay? You see that it just magically, the moon pulls the Earth right back to the middle, dude. It's hilarious. I'm just glad that we had. Is this real footage? Yes, this is real, dude. This is basically like 8K. We should probably give them more money if you think about it. But I'm glad that we heard like someone explaining it from their paradigm. Was like, what's this making up? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh yeah, this is sculling the globers. We're teaching you your model.
Another bulge at C. Second, it fills in the bulge at A, but not completely, because A has moved further towards the moon than B. Lastly, the far side ocean at C is also attracted to the moon, but it moves least because the moon's gravitational pull here is at its weakest, being farthest from the moon. This leaves a partial bulge at C, though not as big as the one at A.
Now he's wrong, but it's just per usual. You know how you have like a bunch of like Christian pastors that talk about the Bible, but they make stuff up that's not really in the Bible. Yeah, it's very similar. You know, you have a lot of people in that hometown of yours that's in the Bible Belt that will all believe what the pastor says, but they've never read the book themselves. And if you tell them, oh, the book doesn't actually say that, they'll argue against you because they're in a religious dogmatic cult and they've handed their own individual critical thinking ability over to some idea of an illusory authority figure. Well, that's what this is. See, in reality, we actually have tides with the same magnitude or greater on the other side of the moon moving in the opposite direction. If you actually read Harvard or Stanford, they will explain to you that the Earth is actually pulled directly to the middle. It's just an anomaly that's the relationship and how it all works out. That's the current model. And so if you go to t.me/Witsit streams, I'll drop all kinds of info in there for you, like I normally do whenever we cover one of these videos. We have a school in the Globers, and I'll explain all of it. You can read all of it. You know, like centuries of failed tidal theory. I'll explain all of it in the Telegram. You'll get all the resources. So anyway, continuing on.
Now we can see why, when the Earth rotates through 24 hours, it goes through 2 high tides and 2 low tides.
But you just said that the one on the left is smaller than the one on the right. So, but that's not reality. We have we have tides just as big on the opposite side. That right there debunks it, to be honest. But they've started to move the goalposts in higher academia. Cue the emotional music. I feel like we're saving mankind right now.
But there's another surprise. By the time the Earth has rotated once and arrived back at its original position, the moon has moved on a bit because it's orbiting the Earth at the same time. That means that the Earth has to catch up with the moon, so the next day's high tide is about 50 minutes later.
Science.
The moon rises and sets about 50 minutes later too, because the Earth has to catch up with its orbiting moon. You can even test this.
So that is another part of it. If you look at it, there is only like very loose correlation. Of course, correlation doesn't equal causation. Does the rooster cause the sun to rise? That's ridiculous. But of course, the moon supposedly moves around the Earth, and the tides like drag behind it, like lag behind it, and at inconsistent rates. Globers, take notes. I've given you many debunks already. Okay. Inconsistent rates. This is where you get the gems. They're not going to tell you in these stupid videos. They're not going to tell you in your stupid scientific articles like Popular Mechanics and Popular Science. Okay. They say the moon moves ahead of the tides, but in reality, it does this at inconsistent rates, and it does not change directly relative to the cycle of the moon. It just changes inconsistently in general relative to the moon's position. Okay.
It's by timing the moon rise or moon set from one day to the next. Or check out some tide charts to see if the tides obey this rule too.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll check out some tidal charts. Since that was your suggestion, let's do it.
This is a map of tidal amplitude, which is the difference between the low and the high tide in a given place. So what that means is that the low tide might be a meter below sea level, and the high tide might be a meter above sea level. And that would be a tidal amplitude of 2 meters, which is considered very high. And those high tidal amplitudes are here in red. So this is where the difference between the low tide and the high tide is the greatest. What you'll notice with this is that there are places where the tidal amplitude is very, very low. It's actually 0. And those are the places here in pink. In these places, there is no tide. Low tide is the same as high tide. What that translates to is 0 tidal amplitude. So every place in pink has 0 tide. Now, the
globe debunked. I saw someone in the chat saying, why are we arguing tides? This debunks the globe. It actually debunks the globe. I like, people don't seem to understand the concepts. I don't know what it is, but like the people think if they can ask a question that they don't understand about the flat earth, that debunks flat earth. No, it doesn't. We're not claiming a definitive model, and we can answer all the questions you think that we can. In fact, you can't even name one. I can't even come up with one a glober thinks like we can't answer. Like, other than making unfounded, ridiculous claims like how far away the stars are, no one knows that. Okay. You know, believe it or not, your little fairy tale belief that the edge of the visible universe is 46 billion light years away, which is 46 billion times 5.88 trillion, is not actually real, nor is it verifiable. It's pseudoscientific nonsense that you blind believe and didn't even know until you heard me say it. So the major point here is this debunks the globe because the globe makes a very specific definitive dimension claim. It makes a radius value claim, 3,959 miles. It claims an ovate spheroid that's tilted on a 66.6 degree axis. Yes, that's right. 90 degrees minus 23.4, 66.6. Calm down, Globers. We're schooling you. Okay. They claim that the radius value is 3,959 miles. That's a very specific dimension. It's a very specific rotation. So it has very specific angular momentum. So therefore, you have a relationship with the moon with a very specific size, 238,000 miles away, 2,160 miles in diameter. So therefore, you have a very specific relationship that you must work within. If you are going to claim that it's tidally locked to try to explain the phenomena of the moon, always showing us the same quote unquote face, assuming that it is in fact a sphere, then you're going to have to then integrate the phenomena of tides into this relationship of the specific dimensions of the sun and the moon and the gravitational relationship of the two and the tidal locking phenomena. Therefore, whenever you factor all this in, now that you have something called tidal nodes, right, or amphidromic points, then you have to explain this with some type of viability, or it debunks all of the foundational presuppositions that required you to address the tides in the first place. You have built yourself inside of a confined little box, and now you have to cooperate with the model's demands. See, that is the point. If we falsify anything that tiptoes or more so dominoes over into your radius value claim or your dimension claim, it's all over. Of course, we already debunked the radius value many times, and all this doesn't even matter, but this is a death blow to the globe when fully understood. Moving on.
The places where there is no tide, these are called amphidromic points. I will call them tidal nodes because that's the more commoner term for them. And they're here. And these are the places, these points, that there is no tide, literally no tide at all. And there's tons of them all over this map. There's these ones in the center of the oceans, which are quite easy to see. But if you look closely at this map of amphidromic points, tidal nodes, you'll see there's also a number of much smaller ones that operate in smaller regions. I'm going to circle these three. Look, there's 3 tidal nodes. These are areas, again, with no tide, where the water is still all year long, all day long, all week long.
This is one thing that, like, this is why a lot of people get aggravated with letters. Like, debunking the radius always matters. Yeah, of course, I've gone and done that in front of tens of thousands of people dozens of times. Yeah, like, I'm not going to do a Schooling the Globers episode every single week and go over the same exact thing. Radius value, radius value, radius value, radius value. So if you want to just talk about the radius value, you can go start a channel or go watch FED, right? That's what they do. They talk about the same thing all day, every day. That's not what we do here.
No tide. Here's another one here. Here's another one here. You can see 3 in here. You can start seeing them when you look, you start seeing them all over the place here. See, there's actually 3 up here in Upper Canada. Now, the greatest density of these that I have seen is in the Polar Sea. Now, this is a polar projection map. This is a favorite by flat earthers. And you can see how many of these nodes are in the Arctic Sea. This is the Arctic Sea up here, the North Polar Sea. You can see all the nodes in here. I'm just circling them all. These are places with no tide. This is just a zoom in on that so you can see. It's almost fractal how this looks because you've got all these little nodes here, and then you've also got all big nodes all in the sea. Oh, that's where the purples are. These big tidal nodes. These seem to be the center of what's going on with the tides. This is a better chart of the polar sea. So this is, again, a North Polar projection. I've placed a big X on the North Pole, and you can see even more.
So we have a anti-flat earther in here that needs to be ready to take his notes, by the way. You need to be taking notes. ChatGPT said, because ChatGPT is a bot, and so when you're a bot, that's your supreme leader, ChatGPT bot, says that there are tides all throughout the ocean. So why did he just lie? Was the question. So let's just put this to bed here. Amphidromic point or tidal node is a point of 0 change. Look, I spelled it so bad. Of the amplitude or height harmonic constitute of the tide within an oceanic basin. A point of 0 change of the amplitude. Do you know what a tide is? An amphidromic point, also called a tidal node, is a geographical location which has 0 tidal amplitude. Okay. All right, glad we got that covered. This is
a map of tidal amplitude, which is extremely dense, these tidal nodes. So I think there's even some on these islands. These don't have to be underwater, and I'll talk about that later as well. Look at this. It seems like there's 3 in a row in here. All these tiny little tidal nodes. It's almost fractal how this seems to work. There's 2 here. This is Hudson's Bay in Canada, and I'm going to talk about that later. But first, this is the Mediterranean. There's also tidal nodes in the Mediterranean. It's not as dense maybe as in the Polar Sea. This is another one that's on land, actually. And I think it looks like there's one here. You can see this is Cyprus. So that's sort of how the Mediterranean here is aligned.
Wow, very, very generous super chat for all the times I wanted to and didn't. Thank you for the edifying education. Blessings to your family. Thank you so much. Very generous super chat, $100. Truth and learning to walk in it. Cool name as well. Greatly appreciated, brother. Much love. Maybe sister, but I think I just always go rock with the fact that majority of my audience is in fact brothers. Thank you so much. Very generous of you, bro, and it is greatly appreciated. Thank you for the kind words. Glad that you enjoy the content.
This is the North Sea near the United Kingdom, and you can see these two tidal nodes here, as well as a tidal node which they've clearly marked on Sweden or Norway. That would be in Norway. I've also got this side by side with an actual animation. Now, what's nice about this animation, it shows tides. It doesn't just show tidal amplitude. It shows tides in real time. And you can see how high these tides are relatively. These are these huge.
Just pay attention to this. Just gets funny, but I just want you to this is a perfect learning opportunity for Globers. So a guy, he's very frequent to the conversation, stalks it. His YouTube name is Flat Earth Denier. Comes in here after seeing the stream for a second, goes and asks ChatGPT, the supreme bot leader, which I've got to literally just constantly flip back and forth and mental jiu-jitsu that thing like effortlessly 100 times at this point. It's like laughable. He comes and says that there is no place that has no tide. But tide is, of course, the amplitude of tide is based on the difference, right? And there are tidal nodes. So there are definitely places in the ocean that have no tide. Now, this is where, as a Glober, you would have that. Hopefully, my audio's not going out. It sounds kind of weird in my headphones, so sorry if that's the case. But just to throw this out here into the ether to you Globers that deny the ether, this is one of those opportunities where it's just like, just admit when you were wrong. Admit when you don't know something. It's okay. Like, just learn the new information. And to answer the question, why are we covering the tides? Because we want to figure out what's really going on the earth as well. And that's what this is going to lead into.
2 or 3 meter tides that are all rushing up through this English channel here. And yet you do have.
And KC Industry, welcome to the Miswits. Hey, signed up to be a member. What a legend. Thank you for becoming a member. I think I might have missed another member. I will find you. And Valerie St. Mary, welcome to Miswits. Hey, level 1 Miswit. Thank you for signing up and becoming a member. Much love. Let's continue.
Have a tidal node very close into here. So you've got these massive tides, but you actually have a tidal node around here. Now, this model doesn't show the tidal nodes amazing because you can see some of the tide go in through here. But it's pretty good here where you can see the tides up on this side, then it's up on this side. It's up on this side, and then it's up on this side. And the tidal node itself, the sea level never changes. So this is a better map, a more detailed map of the tidal nodes. And it shows another tidal node with this arrow around New Zealand. So New Zealand's another example of a tidal node that's not under the ocean, but still seems to affect the tides. And what I mean by affect the tides is you can see this arrow. Tides revolve around tidal nodes. So a high tide seems to be a bulge of water that will revolve in a certain direction, and it looks like the direction is different in these different nodes.
Dude, gravy, bro. And no, that's not moving in a certain direction relative to being on the north or the south of a ball. That's weird. Oh, man, what happened to the Coriolis? Hurricanes all go in one direction. Selena, hey, welcome to the Miswits. Thank you for signing up to become a member. Much love. Greatly appreciated. I'm also going to go ahead and just get this out of the way. Nope, actually, we're going to finish this. This is gravy, bro. And as you saw, wow, Adam, very generous. Wow, my boy Adam. What a legend. Gifted 20 memberships. Very generous, Adam. Thank you so much, brother. You are the man. So I don't know how that works. Pick them up, however that goes. But you guys, there are 20 memberships. Thank you so much, Adam. That was epic. You are the man, brother. All right. Pump up those numbers. Thank you so much, man. That was very cool. Hello, applause. Yeah, always applaud for the members. It's just like a thing. Maybe a little extra, but very cool. Thank you guys. All right, this is crazy. So these tidal nodes where it has 0 tidal amplitude, we have a rotation around it. Do you want to know why? I gotcha. I'm not gonna let you down. You didn't come here for no reason, but let's just continue.
There's clockwise and there's anti-clockwise, but it has nothing to do with the equator, because this one you can see here is clockwise. This one you can see is counterclockwise. This one you can see is also clockwise. And this one here is counterclockwise. And there's really no pattern to whether it's going to be clockwise or counterclockwise. This shows a live animation of the tides. And you can see exactly what I mean when I say that tides revolve around the nodes. So I told you about those 2 nodes up here in Hudson's Bay. You can see.
Dude, this is a perfect example of like the double speak of Globers, dude. Look. Tidal amplitude noun, the elevation of tidal high water above mean sea level, which means the tide goes up and down. The amplitude is the rate. In those spots, the max and the minimum is the same amount. Wow. It's almost as if there's not a tide there. It's almost as if it has a 0 tidal amplitude. Wow. Of course, based on your model, if you even understood it, there would be an even distribution of gravitational relationship, because really it wouldn't be pull, it would be the geodesic path of the moon affecting the gravity via the bending and warping of space-time, causing a gravity well relative to the displacement of mass that is the Earth inside that gravity well. Thus, that intrinsic relationship between space-time and the 2 masses would then give you a consistent distribution of the gravitational effect across the ocean relative to the position of the sun and the moon and the Earth. It would not have tidal nodes. And in fact, admittedly, even by NOAA, this is an unexplained phenomena. It doesn't match the global prediction. All right.
The high tide in red revolving around the coast of Hudson's Bay. You can also see this in New Zealand, which I told you was an on-land tidal node. You can see this high tide in red spinning around New Zealand, and the low tide in blue, so negative tide,
How
also
fascinating
spinning
is this?
around.
We have to get. I want to get really high definition projections laid out. We're working on it. So thanks Walter for like the first step towards the model, and we're gonna redo the whole thing. Austin has a very ordered word salad. Yeah, none of that was word salad.
On New Zealand, and they almost look like magnetic fields in the way that this is pictured here around New Zealand. So this is Hudson's Bay again. This is a different tidal animation.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And you can see how these tides seem to revolve around Hudson's Bay. And again, there are tidal nodes, 2 tidal nodes here in the center of Hudson's Bay that show no tidal movement whatsoever, while you have huge tidal movement around these shores. And this, again, is New Zealand. And this shows those tides revolving around New Zealand. This is
this is gravy, dude. This is fire, dude. Because it's so interesting. And just like my boy Melodome pointed out, you actually get that basically 4-leaf clover projection, that quadrupole type projection. And it looks like we see that a lot. Now we're going to get into what that counter rotation is in my assessment. Well, let's continue.
It's a very helpful map. It is a globe model, but it's a helpful map. This shows you the relative, how relatively really very high these tides are in some of these areas. Now, this only shows half the Earth. You can see a little bit over here in North America. But if you look at South America, the tides are just enormous at the very, very tip of South America. The same is true up here in Great Britain and in the English Channel. Huge amount of tides. If we go back to this earlier map, you can see
this guy is crushing, dude. Speaking of crushing, Run Boston Bear, very generous donation, $50 super chat. Date night money for one of the most epic truther couples out there. Now that the other Austin is married, they are going to give you a run for your money. I hear you. Kaylee enjoyed streaming the other day. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very cool. Thank you so much for the generous donation, and shout out to my boy the Melodome couple. Hey, congratulations to Austin for the Melodome, who is a legend. That is who we played at the beginning. Thank you so much, Run Boston Bear. Very generous donation. Very generous supporter. I greatly appreciate it. Much love, brother. It's pretty funny when those who disagree with us use the term word salad after hearing us use the term to describe their doublespeak, yet our words are not even close to contradictory. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's such an easy tactic to just dismiss, to not respond with any specificity like when it comes to like direct refutation, to dismiss the whole entire thing you said. And so that's why they use word salad, because it's an attempt to dismiss the entire thing that you said. It's very fallacious and remedial, but most honest viewers notice that. Like when they do that to you, they do it to you a lot. That's Sean from Kingdom of Context. They do it to him all the time. Or at the least, word salad's implied, or it'll be somewhere else. It's very obvious that's because they can't respond to the point that you made. So that's basically a dub.
That there are all those tidal nodes there at the base of South America, just like you may expect if these tidal nodes were what's creating these tides, because you've got a high density of these tides. So you're actually moving a great deal of water against this continent of South America, which is why you've got this black here. This is, I don't know how tall the tidal amplitude is right here, but it's very, very high. I think in some places the amplitude is as much as 4 meters. So this could be a full 4 meters here at in Argentina down here. This is from the Wikipedia article on tidal nodes, and it's extremely sparse. There's very, very little information about what these are and what they do. There's a line about how the moon causes them, but it's...
By the way, it's not just Wikipedia that's very sparse. Harvard and Stanford are also very sparse, as is NOAA in general. I will drop tons of links about the tides via hostile witnesses in the chat, of Telegram. So that's t.me/WitsitStreams. I'll drop the link. I'll start putting them in the description. We're about to step up all the content, so it's going to get dope. All the descriptions, everything will get updated soon. T.me/WitsitStreams, and then we have the personal chat on Telegram, which is t.me/Miswits. And after every stream, certainly the Skull and the Glober streams, I'll drop all kinds of, I'm going to flood it with all the relevant information so you guys can look into it. It isn't just Wikipedia. It's admittedly not explainable. No one understands it when it comes to the entirety of the tidal theory and all the anomalies within, the discrepancies within, in 2023 at the highest levels of academia within the globe heliocentric paradigm. It is hilarious. Moving on.
Frankly, laughable that people can think, after looking at tidal nodes and how tides react around tidal nodes, that the moon is doing this. It's this joke of an animation here on the bottom right that does not correspond whatsoever with the models I've shown you, as well as this one on the top where you have a bulge both on the moon side and on the non-moon side, and nothing on the top or bottom, even though we know that there's a great deal of tide in the southern part and in the northern part of what would be this map here. There's also a list of tidal nodes on Wikipedia. The set of clockwise, points include these, but they've only given us 16 nodes here, but from what I saw from the map, there's 100 of these things. It could be 100. I haven't even counted them. There's so many of these tidal nodes all over the earth, but in some places they are in far greater density than in other places. What got me into looking at this was taking a trip to Hawaii. I'm from Vancouver. This is a picture on the right of a Vancouver tide.
Just to clarify, this is a great example. This is a great learning opportunity. Flat Earth Denier, very cool name. You're really crushing, bro. What do you think the tides just rise and fall and rise and fall? They travel around the Earth, following the moon as it orbits the Earth. Remember what he said. Okay, I'll try to remember to pull that up, but just remember what he said. It's going to be super funny in just a second. All
right. And I went to Hawaii expecting tides to behave similarly as they would in Vancouver. I think most people just assume tides are the same everywhere. But the difference between low tide places and high tide places is it could be a matter of 12 feet, which is, a tall man twice. It's actually an enormous amount of water we're talking about. So it wasn't going on in Hawaii. Hawaii has lots of waves, which I don't think are related to tides. They seem to be wind related in a lot of cases. But the tides, I didn't notice at all. You always notice tides in Vancouver, but I never noticed it once in Hawaii. So I looked into it. I have a few speculations about what tidal nodes are. They could be a sea life living deep under the water that's affecting the water, the movement of the water somehow.
We're not going to get into what they are quite yet. I mean, that dude did do such a good video. You see what he's saying. He says that's least probable plate boundaries, and the most popular is suggesting the moon. And humbly, I would say that all three of those are wrong. I don't know if there's something underneath them. I don't know. But anyway, so just remember what that guy said, the flat earth denier who's here to get schooled. He showed up to class a little bit late, but it's okay. We'll let it go. Here you go. I think this is it.
Right. Hey, before we go forward, because I
What?
need you to clear something up, man.
What?
I'm
What?
serious, Neil.
What?
Okay, you said that there's no effect that the moon has on the tidals. I mean, a bigger full moon. Sorry, let me say this again. You said there's no effect the full moon has on the tides than any other moon.
Yeah, that's correct.
When
And you couldn't
Sandy,
let it go. You couldn't.
no, because when Sandy came, I believe you.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people out there who's going to have a problem with this because the news when Sandy happened,
Okay.
Hurricane Sandy, they talked all about the tidal effects of the moon, and it was a full moon.
Yeah, okay.
And this is why Sandy was so.
Okay. There are only two things that affect the tides
Go
from
ahead.
the moon. You ready?
Go ahead.
The mass of the moon. Is that changing?
That never changes.
Okay. Is the mass of the moon higher at full moon than at half moon?
No, it's the same moon.
A. B. The distance to the moon. Okay.
Right.
The moon orbits us. Sometimes it's closer, sometimes it's farther away. That has nothing to do with the phase. It's an elliptical orbit. Sometimes it's closest to full moon. Sometimes
it's not.
But it's not. Okay.
Right.
Those are the only two
That's
things
the
that
two
affect the strength of the tides on Earth from the moon.
Okay.
So why do we have a higher tide during full moon? Because the sun's tides add to the full moon's tide, to the moon's tide.
So it's the sun.
It's the sun. Blame the sun.
Blame the
Blame
sun.
Sandy on the sun, not the poor moon that dutifully orbits us every month of the year.
Fantastic.
Don't blame the moon on that one.
That wasn't it. I'm gonna find it. I'm asking in Telegram. They've clearly suppressed it and hid it because he messed up. He sounded stupid, and we took it and we exposed it. But like within the last like year or two, Neil deGrasse Tyson's explaining the tides. It's so funny, but specifically, he says specifically. And by the way, I have a paper I'll be dropping in my Telegram that also says the same thing. And it says specifically that it is not the case that the water just follows the moon around. Okay, now the tides lag behind the moon, but the Earth is moving within the water. Okay, so this is the official model. Flat Earth denier, pay attention, bro. You're in class, bro. Class is in session, dude. Okay, so and actually, you owe me a super chat tuition. So you have the bulge of the equators, right? It's like roughly 14-mile bulge, allegedly like the height of the Mount Everest or whatever. At the equator, you have 14-mile bulge because the centrifugal force causes all that, but it doesn't cause the continents to move out to the center. All the continents should have actually migrated to the equator, but whatever. So anyway, there's the bulge. So you have a bulge of water there, right? You have a bulge of water. The Earth is spinning, so there's a bulge of water at the equator. So basically, the Earth is moving through the water, and the water is like a stationary or a standing wave, and the Earth is like hula hooping through the water. But the ripple effect that's lagged behind the moon due to the gravitational effect gives us the tides, thus the illusion of it moving or following or being dragged by the moon, because the Earth is actually being pulled itself while rotating and the water's being pulled out towards the moon. It isn't literally being pulled around. The oceans aren't being literally pulled around the Earth. That is a very remedial lack of understanding of your own model. But it's okay. We kind of know that's how it goes. That's kind of like the status quo. So here's a depiction of what people that believe in the globe think is going on. Hilarious. Okay, so that is science. If you question it, you're dumb. Mysterious places with no tides. What's going on with Japan? Totally normal. This is also known as science. If you question it, you're crazy. We'll look at a couple more of the charts here. Hopefully this GIF will upload here. I don't know if it will, though. Very interesting. Let's see. I don't think it is. So I'm going to have to share the screen to show it. But there you go. Look at the tidal node chart. We're going to get this all more intricately mapped out. This does not have a current explanation in the globe paradigm. I'm going to go ahead. I'll stop teasing you guys. I'll let you guys know this is what I think it is. Okay. So it is of no surprise to me that you have, let me give you a picture. What a coincidence, by the way, that the more that we discuss, the more that we discover, the more that we look into, there seems to be a consistent reoccurring theme, right? Now, these are very important phrases. If you have some of these, especially the Globers, you should write it down. I say them a lot. They are not word salad, contrary to popular belief, allegedly, but it is centrifugal, meaning going out towards the outside from the center. Centrifugal. Divergence, it's diverging away from each other. And then centripetal convergence. Centrifugal divergence, centripetal convergence. These two motions put together give you the conjugate, which means the inverse. You have like the inside and the outside, the two sides of a coin, the donut, the inside of the donut, the conjugate, the flip, the inverse, the reciprocated, the conjugate, geometric, obviously, geometry, the shape, the conjugate geometric expression of magnetism, centrifugal divergence, centripetal convergence. Now, the reason that it's important, now you could say donut inside a donut magnetism. You need to understand the phenomena, though, the actual coinciding motion. Now, what's inside of this? You have a vortex. Anyone that's been watching it, if you look at what I'm flirting with being my new logo right here, it's actually a very intricate logo. It's got the toroid overlaid it. It's got the vortex going through the middle. It's got the different layers of basically effectively, quote unquote, the domes. And then it's got it reciprocated as above, so below, which must be the case, scientifically speaking, based on the physics of magnetism. So here we go. Now you see that this is the inertial plane. The green picture is the inertial plane. You have the top and the bottom. Of course, you'll see you have the centrifugal divergence and the centripetal convergence. And you actually have it reciprocated. And then you have a vortex through the middle, right? Now, this is not just made up or something. This is what we know that magnetic fields operate as. Right? So here's Faraday cell images. You guys have seen it. So you see the vortex in the middle. Now, in that middle, it is a place of rest. It is pure rest. It's inertia, meaning unchanging. Inertia means unchanging, right? So technically something could be in motion, but just not changing the rate in which it moves. So that would be inertia. At true rest would be inertia. Now, in the pseudoscientific fairy tale religion, that is the heliocentric model, applying the relativistic nonsense that Einstein came up with to save the model philosophically in the face of damning evidence as a result of Michelson-Morley and Airy's failure. There is no such thing as rest. Everything's in motion, and you can't tell if anything's at rest. There is no absolute rest, blah, 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 blah. Wrong. And if you guys had made it to the summit, you would have saw that I actually did my presentation on this, and the entire universe, if you want to call it that, in fact, the entire natural world can be summarized in a simple 3-part analogy. And that is the painter, the canvas, and the painting. The painter is the creative force above us. The canvas is the ether that is at rest. And then you have the painting, which is, of course, the emanating force pressing down through the ether, ripple, putting stress on the ether. Like Tesla said, the ether under stress or strain. Just give me a couple seconds just to point this out to you guys. For those that want to learn this, it's not just about the Globers. So the force, the creative force emanates down. It pushes stress or strain down through the ether. Effectively, we'll say rippling down through the ether. It puts the ether under stress or strain coming from above us. The all creative force, the life-giving force. He referred to it as the prana, he being Tesla. Then you have the electrostatic phenomena being the result of the ether under stress. Well, that means that literally is what creates the material world and holds it all together. Quite literally, the creative force above you that presses down on through the ether, right? Ripples through the ether, literally holds the material world together, like physically speaking. Anyway, all that to say that the canvas is just black. The canvas is pure potential rest. It is just equilibrium. It is rest. I won't give away all the profound ways that I tied that together in the summit. You guys could just go support some fellow truthers by going and copping the summit still, but it is pretty profound. All that to say that it's all about rest. It doesn't surprise me that we have tidal nodes or places of rest. Look at the center of this, the center of this, the center of that. Okay. So what do you see? That's the rest. That's the, if you wanted to say concentrated ether, right? The ether is, of course, like the conjugate of what we call spatial extension or space or the material world, Cartesian coordinates, right? I know I'm doing a lot right now, so just let me break it down really simply. Okay, all energy. I mean, of course, the water is intrinsically electric. What the tide does is breathing in and out, just like inside the toroid, especially on the plane. That is what it is. It's breathing in and out. It's not just we say it simply, blah, blah, blah. No, that's what it is. It goes in and out. It's on a plane. It's seeking equilibrium. It's within that toroid that breathes in and out, just like the sun basically breathes in and out throughout the year. It's all within a toroid, everything from the small to the big. There will be no progression in any type of science until they understand this. But the important part is that that's all intrinsically electric, which is intrinsically magnetic. And when you look at this geometry, that means it has to exist. You're going to have a whole bunch of points within this toroid that's going to look like this. It's going to be fractal. So you have the small amounts all the way to the big. All that to say, the tidal nodes is the rest point, right? It has zero amplitude. It's like a position of rest. You have zero tidal amplitude. That would be the middle, the place of rest. What do you have around it? You have a vortex. You have rotation around that place of rest. Now, when we relook at these maps, all of a sudden they begin to make sense if you actually understand what I just explained. And so to think that it's just a coincidence, it would be very naive. All right, let me see if I can get this pulled up for you guys and share the screen, because it won't let me upload it on StreamYard. All right, here we go. Present. Shout out to my boy Shane, anti-disinformation. Put together this GIF. All right, check it out. On a plane projection, it maps out characteristics of the magnetic field with central points in that. And then when you get to the North Pole, just like this video showed us, you begin to have more like higher concentration of the tidal nodes. Come back over here.
Level, and the high tide might be a meter above sea level, and that would be a tidal amplitude of 2 meters, a more sparse. There's wise, but it has.
All right, check it now.
So
think about what I just told you, and this because we're not just schooling the Globers. We're figuring out where we live. We're figuring out what's actually going on. Okay, so think about what I just explained to you. Well, it's not a coincidence that every time we look into a new phenomena, it matches within this geometry. It's going to always do that. So think about what I was explaining.
Better map, a more detailed map of the tidal nodes, and it shows another tidal node with this arrow around New Zealand.
So New Zealand's
action is different because of the clockmation of the tides, and you can see exactly what I mean when I say that tides revolve around the nodes. So I told you about those 2 nodes up here in Hudson's Bay. You can see the high tide in red revolving around the coast of Hudson's Bay. You can also see this in New Zealand, which I told you was an on-land tidal node.
So hopefully that clicked with you.
Areas. Now this only shows, if we go back to this earlier map, you can see.
Here you go. You see it rotates around the central point, the tidal node, the area of rest, the inertial concentrated area. Which is not actually technically an area because it has no spatial extension. It's not in any space now. I know that was a lot, but here's the basic point here, right? So the globe cannot truly explain what's going on with the tides for many reasons. And it's not just me saying this. This is them saying it, right? This is Ivy League school saying it. Anti-flat earthers know everything, but in reality, the people that they appeal to, they admit they don't know. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Natty Bumbo, for the $10 super chat. Much love. pretty close to the new year. And I guess it is technically like the new year, huh? So happy new year to you. And you guys should, wow, is there magnetism controlling the tides? It is intrinsically tied to the magnetic toroid that we exist within for sure, in my opinion. Yes. So everyone should go to the Telegram. I'll throw up a poll on what you guys want the next Skull and Glovers to be about. And if you guys want it to be on like Southern Star Trails, then we'll do that. All right, I got a couple more things I want to show you about this. If I can find them. How dare you? In the world. So when people say like, oh, the moon's electromagnetic, the cathode, the anode, oh, there's salt in the water, they're not entirely wrong. It's all intrinsically tied together because those are energetic manifestations of the lights that were placed in the sky within this layered toroid that would effectively be layered firmament. And it would obviously be playing a role in the overall energetic manifestation that is the energy field that we live within, which to the best of my knowledge, and I certainly am still learning, but it looks something like that. Where we live looks something like that. It would blow your mind. It would probably be 1,000 times bigger than that, which is hard to even comprehend. I'm not sure where it is. I'm sorry. Let me see if this is it. Oh, well. I really wanted to show you guys. I vote yes on star trails. Nice. All right, we'll probably cover like star trails or overall just all the celestial phenomena in the sky as it pertains to our personal vision. Next week, I have a debate Friday that'll almost assuredly come up. I'm assuming that's why that guy wants to debate me so bad. He thinks he can like rebut it. Maybe, I don't know. So I'm debating some dude, I guess, that has a PhD or whatever that means. Friday modern day debate. All right, cool. I don't see the other video, unfortunately. Let me just look a couple more seconds. Sorry. Well, I can technically play this one while we're at it, but I really wish I could find Neil deGrasse Tyson straight up explains that the tides are like a stationary wave. Wow, very generous donations on Rockfin. Is this wow? $100 tip on Rockfin. Very generous. Thank you, Michael Parker. Thanks. Thank you. That was very generous. Greatly appreciated. And Rockfin seems to be significantly more generous with what they actually give the content producer. Cake at Noon. Thank you for the $50 super chat on Rockfin. Also very generous. Always entertaining and on point. All the cool kids super chatting tonight. A great example of what one can accomplish when you stay true to yourself. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Cake at Noon, much love. Michael Parker, much love. Thank you. Shout out to the 50 legends on Rockfin kicking it. I love it. We are going to start showing over there some more so I can finish the streams with like just full uncensored gravy. You guys should go to the Telegram as well. Thank you guys for the support. It's greatly appreciated. All right. I think that other video should have downloaded. Here we go. So I'll show some love to my boy Shane here. A couple minutes long. How dare you? This is a clip out of the video we just saw, I believe, but let's get it. Oh, I don't know if it's going to play the sound, though, dude. I don't think it's going to play the sound. Entire screen. All right, maybe this will work. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Oh yeah. And one more thing, I will actually show you guys a couple more videos now that I think about it that will help you visualize this. But basically, I'll summarize a lot of it. So they claim that not only the moon but also the sun cause the tides by basically, in layman terms, pulling on the water on the earth. They claim that the sun or the earth's gravity and the moon's gravity are equal, and that the moon is actually pulling the water, the oceans, towards it, and pulling the earth towards it, to where it effectively lands right in the middle. And we'll do this as well. So that, because ironically, we have on the opposite side of the moon at the same time, in the opposite direction, we have tides of the same magnitude. So, oh, the moon's pulling the tides towards it, but on the opposite side, in the opposite direction, we have tides with the same magnitude. Totally legit. And then we have something, of course, called tidal nodes that just completely do not work with their paradigm at all. And here you go, for those saying that we were making this up. No tides do not occur in lakes and ponds. Lakes and ponds do not have tides because they are much smaller in size than oceans. This does not mean that the tidal pull doesn't apply to them. It's just that given the small sizes of these water bodies, its effect is so small to be almost unnoticeable. And when you say almost unnoticeable, it is unnoticeable. And then what's actually there is an in and out. It's a different name for it. I forgot what it is. It's like just going in and out. What is it called? It's called seishi, saysh, seishi, which is a French word that means to sway back and forth, and it's like based on the wind and other phenomena like that. So they admit that the movement of the water, like for Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, has nothing to do with the tides. Now, Lake Superior is huge. That's a huge lake. But the tidal, there's no tides there. The moon doesn't affect it. That's very interesting. They've tried their best because they've created a narrative where it's as close to unfalsifiable as possible, because you got the sun and you got the moon, and you can constantly fluctuate these bodies, and you can use like solar radiation, you can use like solar flares and all these different phenomena to try to balance it out and tweak it just the right way, where you can like try to make the math work. But you are limited based on geometric relationships, dimensions, like periods of time. So the relative positions based on the time, and then of course what the tides actually do. And what the tides do, according to the model, is you should not have tidal nodes. They're admittedly unexplained. No sound. Oh, you didn't have sound for the video? You gotta have audio now. The video had no sound. I'm sorry. I put share video, share sound, so I'm sorry. I am sorry. But you guys did just hear like that for sure. Let's see. I will show you guys real quick to make sure you understand what I think is happening. How dare you? So basically, the two main options of what the next Skull and Globers could be about is the geodynamo model, the globe Earth's alleged magnetic field. So the geomagnetic field, the geodynamo model, so the core and the alleged magnetic field. All the problems with that, just absolutely burying what they claim to be the dynamo model, the core model of the Earth, and then thus the magnetic anomalies. Just burying the globe once again, sculling the Globers, or we can explain the way that we view the sky and how the globe actually hijacked what we see in the sky, reverse engineered the idea that the Earth is physically bending convexly, thus a sphere, give it dimensions based on the sky. We now have people that say, oh, how convenient, it looks just like it would on a globe, when in reality, we actually took what we see and made it a globe. And, oh, it matches the globe perfectly. Duh, you wouldn't have the globe if you didn't take the sky and then make the globe. To turn around and be like, wow, it took me many years to make this model that claims the Earth's a globe based on what we see. Therefore, proof of it is what we see that we required to make the model in the first place. That is so dumb, dude. So it's up to you guys. I'll drop a poll in the Telegram in just a second. It'll either be tomorrow, will either be not tomorrow, but the next Going Globers will be the geodynamo model and the magnetic field of the Earth, so the core and magnetic field of the globe, or the way that we see the sky, how they hijacked perspective to make the globe, and explaining all celestial phenomena accurately. Thanks, Walter. All right. Here we go. We are getting to it. One of these days. There we go. Okay. Share screen. Now you see this is actually breathing in and out. And you see that you're going to have these convergence points all throughout it. And this is just showing some of what would be going on. This would be so fractal that it's impossible to comprehend. This would be from the small to the big, mind-blowingly big scale, mind-blowingly small scale, and this would be, let's say, the Earth scale. It's this very, very fractal. But you see that you're going to have convergence points all throughout it. And it's going to breathe in and out. It's going to pulsate. Now, when we track the sun throughout the course of a year mapped on a plane, we literally see it do this very thing. We see it breathe in and out. So it's got to be tied within that. Now, it's not, the tides are not unrelated to the sun and the moon because that's an energetic aspect of the energetic field that is what we live in. So of course it has something to do with that, right? I mean, that's just common sense to me, but it is not pulling on it. It is not some primary cause. And hopefully people can understand that. So yeah, I could try to find this other video, but you guys have probably seen it. It's about magnetic flat Earth. So cool. There you go. That was pretty much it. I had a couple videos I thought I was going to be able to easily find. I'm not able to find them, so I do apologize, but we pretty much buried the tides, I would say. It's pretty simple. So, you know, the tides are changing. Tides are changing. All right. So I don't know if there are any Globers in here. If any Globers, make yourself known. But it has almost already been 2 hours, and I do actually have stuff I need to do, and I need to also catch some Z's, so it's probably better that I wrap it up. We covered Trump last night. We'll do a stream tomorrow. I have not sure what the stream will be about tomorrow quite yet. Everyone should consider going to Rockfin and signing up, because whenever we can't talk about the full gravy, we will be talking about the gravy. So we'll be doing it at Rockfin. Also go to Telegram, t.me/WitsitGetsIt. No, sorry. t.me/WitsitStreams and t.me/Miswits. You just get completely uncensored chat. You can drop links, all kinds of videos. You can meet a lot of cool people from the that support the channel and keep up with the channel. And I have a debate against PhD Tony Friday, I guess 8 Eastern, I would guess, on Modern Day Debate. Because James hit me up, said the dude really wanted to debate. So I'm like, whatever. So that's pretty much it. Catch so many good Z's, you get a golden glove, brother. Cool. Thank you, man. Will do. Thank you for the kind intentions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Not sure what it'll be about. So we showed Don't Fall for the Trump Card tomorrow. Of course, we schooled the Globers tonight. They should pay us tuition. We'll school the Globers again. We'll start doing that weekly. We'll start doing the Patreon stream weekly. We'll try to get Witsits, Biscuits, and Gravy in. I know that some people really like that show where we just kick back and I just look at a bunch of different like memes and videos I saw, and we just kind of react together, chill, drink our coffee, wear our robes, and crush and don't care about the haters. Witsits, Biscuits, and Gravy. I'll try to also integrate that. And I just have a lot of other stuff I'm trying my best to do it all. You know, I'm trying to get the newsletter out, trying to run through all the resumes, trying to start this other business that can then be the father company of all these other businesses, just trying to be able to afford all of it. And of course, my family. So you guys get it. All right, cool. Anyway, I'll keep you guys up to date. A lot of stuff coming up in the future. 2023 is going to be pretty crazy. The tides are changing. And in conclusion, just so the globe earthers maybe understand, at the beginning of the stream, I broke down like all the pseudoscientific nonsense assumptions that are the entire models built upon the idea that the earth came from, I'm going to go fast. The idea that the earth came from little bitty dust particles, and then, you know, magically gravity, the invisible, omnipotent, more so omnipresent force that has a little g and a big G, just like other gods that actually create everything that you've ever seen, coalesce these dust particles from the sun into a perfect sphere. Well, not perfect, pretty much perfect over the course of billions of years and millions of years. And then a Mars-sized body hit the Earth, exchanged energy to its core, broke it up into a bunch of little pieces, but one of the little pieces of rock decided to stick around, and then gravity, their god, then actually coalesced that rock into a sphere after recoalescing the Earth back into a sphere. And then it just happened to, as being coalesced by gravity into a sphere, that relationship between the rock that was getting coalesced into a sphere at the same time that was breaking off from the previous Earth just happened to stop at just the right way. Where their coalescing happened to co-align, so where that it stopped at the perfect distance based on its mass relationship, that it would look, ironically and just purely coincidence, that it would look the same size as the sun. And then we go from there, because the moon always appears to be the same size while appearing to have the same angular size as the sun, even though 400 times smaller in diameter, and the heliocentric model, and coincidentally 400 times closer. You always see the same side of it. It's tidally locked, supposedly going 2,200 miles an hour in an orbit around the Earth while spinning and rotating 10 miles per hour, roughly, I think like 10.8 miles per hour. But it stays tidally locked. If it was going a fourth of a mile per hour faster or slower, we'd see the rest of it. And it's tidally locked. That was come up with long ago, and then they tried to integrate that into the tides because they had to come up with some type of way that it would be tidally locked. So they said it was that it would actually just be locked with the Earth, that we only see one side of it. They said it was tidally locked, which means it has to affect the tides. There is some type of correlation there between the cycle of the moon, although loose and not consistent and not the actual cause clearly. So they ran with it. They then added the sun in there to kind of be able to fudge the data, but it doesn't work. It's paradoxical. It has tides with the same magnitude or greater in the opposite direction on the opposite side of the Earth at the same time. This is, of course, impossible. Then they say that the moon and the Earth have the same strength of gravity, and that the moon actually pulls the Earth, displaces the Earth from the water that it's pulling, so that it just happens to end up right back in the middle again. And then, of course, they claim that there are standing waves or stationary waves, and that the Earth is just hula hooping through it, moving through the water that's just standing there, bulged out at the edges as the moon pulls it, but the sun also simultaneously pulls it. And then, based on the idea that this is the case, you would have gravitational distribution from that body relative to the Earth and the sun to the Earth that would be evenly distributed based simply on distance and mass. There would be nothing else that affected it. Distance and mass would be the primary causal agent that causes the tides, causes the movements of the waters, which means it would be evenly distributed relative to mass and distance. But of course, we don't actually see that. We see something called tidal nodes. All over the Earth, we see that we have a zero tidal amplitude, which does not make any sense inside that paradigm, admittedly. So you can go and read in my Telegram. I'll be dropping sources for you from higher up schools explaining that they cannot fully explain the tidal theory, and it has many contradictions. Next, Schooling Globers will be episode number 7. I'll set up a poll on the Telegram, and we will either do it on how we perceive the sky or the geodynamo model of the globe. We'll teach and school the Globers on exactly what they believe to be the case when it comes to the core of the Earth, and how it's supposedly 3,959 fairy tale miles down past the 7.8 that can actually be verified, and then what they think it's composed of, the different layers, how it's moving relative to the surface, how it's changing, now it's slowing down, how it's supposedly sustaining the magnetic field, etc. So we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about in Schooling Globers, launching that back up. There we go. I know it was a bit redundant, but if someone got here late, they got a full little recap. So there you go. And then we'll try to get some Globers to not be entirely petrified and scared to ever voice up in this channel, and they'll call in and they can take a test. I'll actually create tests. I will create tests based on the subject. So they'll come on, they have to take the test. That would be hilarious. I think they'll be scared to do it. Like, they're so much smarter than all the flat earthers that they're afraid to go on the flat earth show and answer their own model's questions after it was covered like a lecture. We'll see. All right, cool. Oh, I don't want to miss the super chat. Creator has given you a great gift, bro. You're an awesome teacher. Need to do a stream on fathers of field theory. Oh, nice. Fathers of electrical field theory. That would be a good stream. That would be an intense stream. That would be a very technical stream. But yeah, I'd be down. A lot of people are asking me to redo my ether stream as well. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Question the timeline. I agree. You should definitely question the timeline. Wow, another generous donation over at Rockfin. You guys are legends. James Carter, thank you for the Ether series, Austin. Look at that etheric ripple. what some people would call a coincidence, I would call a synchronicity. Thank you, James Carter, for the $50 tip on Rockfin. And I do plan on kind of launching some more explanations of the ether up, maybe redoing that presentation a bit more clean. But cool. Yeah. Thank you guys for the support. Links to support in the channel are in the description. I think you should definitely check out Telegram when we're fully uncensored. I know I've said it a few times, but it's pretty cool. We're going to build it up. So you guys can kind of be like OG VIPs before it gets bigger. And in conclusion, if you currently think the Earth's a globe, just step back and realize there's a whole bunch that goes into it that needs to be true in order for that model to even be potentially and theoretically viable. And you really never have thought of it. And you just kind of assume that scientists have thought of it and figured it out for you. And you may have begun to hear about the subject, then you find these anti-flat earthers with this illusory confidence and cockiness that pretend it is all figured out. But I can assure you that you will find out, certainly if you stay up to date with this channel and other True Earth channels, that in reality, they admit they do not have answers for the vast majority of phenomena that would have to be happening in a certain way in the heliocentric model. They have a whole bunch of I don't knows, mathematical band-aids, and patchwork, and apparently that is science as long as it fulfills the philosophical bias of the Copernican principle, which is that the Earth is not special and does not occupy a unique position. So whatever you can do to keep that alive, you can make up stories, and it doesn't have to be verified. If you begin to ever imply that, in fact, the Earth may be the center and be special, you must be able to answer every single question they can possibly think of, and it must be perfectly and scientifically proven. If that's not the case, they can throw out everything and go back to their patched up nonsense. So just step outside of the need to conform to what other people think, or the idea that you might be scared or nervous to ever question something that seems so basic and foundational as the Earth. It's just a house of cards. It's just a facade. It's just pull back the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. And the reason it's so important is you begin to realize a lot about yourself and where you live, and the reality of certain powers that maybe shouldn't be on the Earth and what they do. Cool. Love you guys. Seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. If you want to contact me, Witsit@protonmail.com, or on Telegram, you can go to my chat, t.me/miswits, or @realwitsit. Probably the most efficient way, because that's kind of replaced my email. I'll try to keep up to date with you guys. And a lot of stuff I don't want to announce yet, but we got some things that we'll be launching here soon. I'll keep you guys up to date. Also consider going to NASA audits. I think I might change it to Audit NASA, but and subbing on YouTube. We just have one short video up right now. Okay, there you go. There's the infomercial. Thank you guys for kicking it. Seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. So who cares what other people think? Strong people don't care what weak people think. The truth is not popular. What's popular is not always true. Whenever you get reviled for the truth's sake, rejoice, for they did that to all the prophets before you. Just understand that's how it goes. Just kind of understand, if you're getting shot at, you're probably doing what's right. And if you're really just kind of coasting through life and no one's attacking you or trying to prevent you from revealing certain truths or information, you may be playing it safe, let's just say. So yeah, just never back down from societal ostracism. Weaker people always get together to attack you. I will catch up with you guys mañana. Peace.
That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they sipping pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big Pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock that twirl, somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force a misinfo that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature to mean extorted it. They forging it. If news anchors informants who informing them, there's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this reporting ships important. Yes, of course it is, but extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks we ignoring, which informing this, informing this. It looked like we were snoring tricks. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?